Hello and welcome. My name is Karl from the band Angelspit, and I'm doing a live presentation on the EMAX. This is part 1, and this is about audio editing and preparing it to bus it on over to the EMAX. And in this, I'm going to look at cleaning up audio files, converting them into EMAX format on EMXP. This is going to be fun. Then in part 2, I'm going to pull them in to the EMAX, and on the EMAX we're going to move them around on the keyboard, like put them in zones. We're going to play with the filters a bit. We might play with some like MIDI controllers and stuff like that. And then in part 3 we're going to play with the different routings, running them through compression and distortion and all that sort of fun stuff. So the reason I am doing the EMAX because I love it. I own 4 EMAXs, and I've owned an EMAX for like 30 years. And I think they're one of the best synths around still, because they excel at one thing, and that is they are world class at being an EMAX. They don't try and be anything else. They're an EMAX. They're a shitty old sampler, and they sound so good. If you take a Lindrum or an SP12 or a drum emulator or a SCI drum machine, like an old sample 12-bit sampler drum machine, and you sample it on an EMAX at 16K, it will sound like a Lindrum. It won't sound like these new, like high quality recordings, because Linds kind of are a bit gritty. And the grit will cut through the mix. They are astoundingly fantastic. I'm wanting to encourage people to program it and sample, because so many people get an EMAX, then they get Alan Wilder's Depeche Mode samples, and that's as far as they go. The Depeche Mode samples are amazing, and Alan Wilder really shows how you can do so much with an EMAX with not much at all, like how he uses the loop points as fake delays, all that stuff, the key zoning. It's really, really brilliant. But I want to encourage you. I want to show you how to do it, because it's great fun. It's really fast to program. It's super simple. The filters are great, and you know, I do a lot of sampling in 16K, and that's crap quality. When you drop it down an octave, the samples fall apart. They decimate. And you put that through a filter, and they sound so lovely. Really, really sweet sounds. Also, the MIDI control capabilities of an EMAX, although EMAXs are really ancient, they're pretty good. Because a lot of stuff from that vintage, the delay between keystrokes and the randomness with notes on especially multi-timbral, and the EMAX is multi-timbral. It sends and receives on 16 independent channels. I will cover that. The EMAX's ability to do that while handling pitch bend, modulation wheel, and controllers is actually quite good. You can control the EMAX to use a MIDI controller to fly filters. I'll show you that as well. It's brilliant. The routing is very limited, but there's a lot you can do with it. The outputs are actually mono, so you can actually only play one sound at a time. You can't play a chord. It sucks, but because of this limitation, there's some very cool things, and we're going to look at that in number 3. And remember that the EMAX's memory is half a K. That's nothing. So it's forcing you to do cool things, which is another reason I absolutely bloody love the EMAX. And also the repairs of an EMAX, they're super cheap. Most of the chips, most of the parts are off the shelf. And if you want to replace the floppy drive or the power, or put in a USB or an OLED, it's actually kind of easy, except on the racks. The racks are a bit different. But yeah, they're a great, it's kind of like an old Ford of musical instruments, because you can just get in there and fix them up. And you will learn the power of the Rambird. Yes, the Rambird. You'll learn about the Rambird. Anyway, let's start. So, what we're going to do in this part is we're going to take a sample, we're going to clean it up, and then we're going to convert it to EMAX format, And I'm going to start with this sample. Now, this is a sample of a saucepan in our kitchen, hanging off a hook, kind of like just swaying backwards and forwards over a piece of metal. And it sounds like this. It just rocked like a pendulum. It was fantastic. First thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to normalize it yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything under 50 cycles. Everything is going to go out, because when you drop a sample down an octave, whatever was 100 cycles is now 50 cycles. You drop it another octave, whatever was 50 is now 25. So you're going to end up with a whole bunch of data that doesn't need to be there. So that just cleaned up the bottom and the rumbles and stuff a bit. I'm then going to normalize it to 0 dB. Hello. And then I'm going to add a compressor, and the compression is -8 threshold, 3.5 to 1, and there's basically a really slow release. Listen to that noise. So the reason I'm doing all of this, and now I'm going to get rid of the noise, because a lot of like really hardcore people are going to say, just put it straight into the Emax. Yes, you do get an extra gritty sound because you're going through the Emax's DACs. But the reason I don't do that is because when you're at a low sample rate, all of the data, I believe, is needed to present, clarity and quality. Which kind of, it sounds really contradictory that I say that, but, once this goes to 16K, it's going to sound gritty. And when you listen to the noise, that's going to fuck shit up. Also, when I run this stuff through the compressors and distortion units and stuff, like, that's going to be problematic. So step one, actually, it's not step one at all. I'm lying to you. I don't even know what step it is. I don't care anymore. I'm using SoundForge, if you care. I'm going to take a footprint of that noise. Thank you, noise. I'm going to apply that to the entire sound. Thank you, sound. And it sounds like this. Great, it sounds tight. Remember, space is an issue, so I'm going to start getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff we don't need. And I'm going to start it here. I've got the zero crossing on. I'm actually going to turn it off so I can get that bit. Get back on again. Boom. And I'm going to mute it right there. There you go, loop. I can do some loop fudging in the Emax, but for now, that's what I want to hear. Great. So there's less noise, and the data is focusing. The data of the Emax, its very old processor, is now focusing just on creating that sound. So with the purity of that sound, it can then go through and really grunge it up, and trust me, it's going to. The last thing I'm going to do to this sample is normalize it to -3 dB. The reason I do that is once we get into EMXP, which is the software that's going to convert them into Emax language, when stuff gets close to 0 dB, sometimes it can add artifacts and digital and distort stuff. But if it's lower, it doesn't need to be any lower than -3. -2 is fine. You're reducing the chances of that happening. That's just something I found. Somebody else might find something totally different. It sounds like this. Excellent. Cool. That's the first one. While I was recording this, I recorded a whole bunch of different things like bangs and slaps, and I'm not going to go through all those ones, but we're going to be throwing them on the Emax. We'll hear them in the next part. Oh, yes, we will. Here's the next sample. Now, this is a recording of flower pot plant bowls, ceramic pot plant bowls. And these are really cool because they have, there were 2 of them. And they were supposed to be the same size, but they were slightly different, so the pitch is slightly out. So listen to this. So that's me playing on both of them. 1 1 1 da 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 da, tapping them differently, and it's about 1/4 of a tone, and it's really creepy, and I love it. And once I'm going to distort this, so it's going to sound really, really evil. That's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is this. So that's me just tapping one of the bowls, because what I was thinking is that that could be a really nice ambient sound. Like once I put that through a filter, maybe reverse it, because it's fingers tapping on the one bowl. It's all the same harmonic, all the same note. So this could be an interesting texture. What I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to get rid of that. Listen with headphones, because you're going to notice you can hear the sound of the fingers tapping on it, that thump, thump, thump. So I'm actually going to put the high pass filter, this is crazy, at 500. So everything under 500 cycles, yes, that's a lot, is getting pulled out. I'm going to normalize that to 0 dB so we can hear what's going on. Yeah. That's actually exactly what I want, because when you play that lower, that's going to be creepy. And remember, there's going to be filters going on, and it's going to be very luscious. Remembering once again that time is of the essence with an Emax, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that bit there, and maybe I will start it there. But before I do anything, did I compress this? No, I did not. I'm going to compress it. Man, I am just so on the ball today. Same compression value. That was minus 8 dB at 3:1. Sounds like this. There's a lot of noise in there. Wow. Listen to that noise. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to rip that out. Oh yeah. Hello noise. I'm going to start it there. So this is now a 4-second sample. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I might even, you know what, I'm going to start it there. Like that. Boom. I've got my 0 crossing on, don't I? Yes, I do. Sounds like this. Wow. Granular. Emax is good fun for granular. I should talk about that too. All right, cool. There's a rhythm in that. Hear that rhythm? Yeah, interesting. What I'm going to do is, this is a trick with looping with the sampler, is we're definitely 0. Yep, we are. I'm going to cut this first part out here. Right. So I'm going to just take the first half. Boom. I'm going to delete it there. Now what I'm going to do, so the top is the second half, the bottom is the first half, is I'm now going to take that bottom one and I'm going to drop it kind of there-ish. And what's going to happen is this is SoundForge is going to crossfade it. And this should loop perfectly. Excellent. Once again, I'm going to drop it 3 dB because I don't want there to be any digital distortion in that. And what I'm planning on perhaps doing, by the way, is, because you can reverse it in the Emax. Oh, I don't want to do that. Go away. Actually, reverb would sound cool, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, right? That's going to be very cool. When you play that as chords, that's going to be quite scary. Great, cool. I'm going to undo that. Right, cool, fantastic. What can I say? Oh, bugger off is what I can say. Is firstly I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to minimize that. Welcome back. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, fuck off, is, come on. All right, come on. Come on, baby. Right. We're going to go into this amazing software called EMXP. This software is free. So if you have an Emax and you download it, it is with the highest of recommendation that you tip them. Send them some money. Because this is such good software, man. It's amazing. Hold on, that's the wrong window. Hold on, it's coming. Trust me, it's coming. Okay, thank you. You go away. Right. No, that was the right window. Wow, Karl, you are amazing. Gee, thanks. So when you get, excuse me, when you get EMXP for the first time, you're going to open it up. It'll unzip itself, and it's going to look like this. Ta-da! It's got this folder called WAV. And what we're going to do is I've moved all of the 15 samples that I've been working on for this set. And these samples will be available to Angelspit's Patreon members. All of them are gone into that file. So what we are going to do now, into that folder I should say. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to convert these WAV files. Firstly, I'm going to use EMXP to bring their sample rate down to 16K. And I'm going to be saving these as a bundled Emax file, for want of a better term. So I open EMXP. I will say that right. I'll make that a bit bigger. Right. I'm going to open up EMXP. You know what I mean. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select number 3, which is manage the WAV files. Cool. Next, I'm going to hit number 2, which is basic, because it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff automatic. And as you can see, what it's doing right now, and I'm going to move this folder so you can actually kind of see it here. What's going on is that they are all the samples. It's telling you all the information you need to know about those samples. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say A to select all of them, because I'm going to process all of them now. I hit enter, and I'm going to create an Emax 1 sample format. And as you'll notice, you can also create Emax 2 emulator, emulator 2, emulator 3, emulator 3X, and SCI and Akai stuff, and SP12. Isn't that fantastic? But I'm going to go with number 1, so I just hit number 1. Then I'm going to go with the first option. And if you read them, if you don't have a USB stick, you can. There's all this other fun stuff you can do, but we're going to talk about that later. Actually, we're not going to talk about it at all. I'm lying to you. We're focusing on USB. We're going to select number 1, which is we're going to create an Emax bank file. So I hit number 1. And then I'm just going to specify, these windows are all about specifying that I get control, because I want control from the damn computers. This is where you can select the sample rate, and I'm going to go with 15,625, which is basically 16K. Excuse me, the thing to remember with an Emax is that the higher the sample rate, the less notes higher you can go. For example, at 44.1, I don't think you can go any notes higher. I think you can go 1 semitone higher, because the maximum output of an Emax, I think, is about 48K. The maximum. And what it actually does is the Emax actually takes the sample and plays it slower or plays it faster. When it's 20K, you can go an octave and a bit higher. And when it's 16K, you can kind of go 2 octaves. But I'm going to select 16K or 15.625 because it sounds really bloody gritty, and I like grit. I select number 2. You know, you just select whatever you want because DOS is awesome. Select number 2. And then it's going all that stuff. Yeah, sure, do it. Oh, whoa, check it out. What's it saying? Okay, so yes, I'm storing. And yes, if there's any problems, let me know. And I hit enter. Use the naming rules. Yep, sounds great. It's just asking me about naming stuff. I am going to create a new file. Thank you, file. And then I'm going to call this rock pot, because it was a pot rocking, right? Rock pot, and I hit enter. Boom, and it's done. Now on this screen, it's telling me what it's done is it's taken each sample. So when I pull it into the Emax, every sample is going to be sitting on 1 key, chromatically, assigned alphabetically. So on C1, the bottom C1 of the Emax keyboard, it's going to be bowl rattle, which is that sound I was doing. Then on C sharp, it's going to be bowl theme, which is the riff. then the different clangs, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, etc. You'll notice, yes, there are 2 vocal samples from some 60s, early 60s sci-fi because I'm using an Emax and it's what you do. And what we're going to do is when we go over there in part 2 of this, we're going to be assigning them all over the keyboard. But for now, we have successfully created an Emax file. And if I go back into the root directory, please take me into the root directory. Come on. Thank you. And I go into images. There it is. Can you see that? Rockpot EB1. That's an Emax file. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get that file and I'm going to convert it to a special file format that will sit on a USB stick. And what's crazy about this is that this is a PC formatted USB stick or a Mac, anything can read it except an Emax. And I'm going to stick it into the Emax and it's going to read it. Now that's crazy because Emaxes can't read MS-DOS, PC-DOS, Mac. It's a totally different format. Even the EMAX 2 can't read EMAX 1 discs. It kind of can, but that's a different story. So for this to be able to do this is so fantastic. It's saving so much time. So it's going to take that file, that EB1 file, convert it to a special format that I can plug it into the Emax and the Emax will play it. It will read it as this, and if I change anything on it, I can save it back to this. Then I can take this, stick it back in my computer and make backups. I can back up Emax files. Wow, 21st century is so cool. Let's do this. I'm going to hit escape a few times so I can go back to the first window. Is this the main menu? Yes, this is the main menu. Right, okay. So the objective, as I said, is we're going to take Rockpot EB1 and we are going to convert that into a file that the Emax can actually read from a USB stick. This is how we do it. I'm going to select number 1, which is manage eMove files and disks. Yes, thanks. I'm going to select number 1 again, which is Emax files. Look at all those options. Aren't they amazing? I'm going to select number 1 again because it's a bank file. We save this as a EB1 as a bank file. So I'll save it as a bank file. And look, it's found the bank file because it automatically saved it into the images folder. So I just select 2. That's, I want to convert Rockpot. And now it's saying, I'm going to copy to what do I do here? I'm so together. I am terrifyingly together. Hold on a minute, I gotta remember how the hell to do this. Oh, convert to another sampler format. Duh. So number 2, convert to another sampler format. And I can convert it to all these things, but I'm going to convert it to an EMAX 1 sampler format. This isn't making sense, but trust me, it will. Now, if I go to 5, I convert it to an EMAX 1 HXC file. And the HXC file is the file that goes onto a USB, and the Emax can read it. My mind is still getting blown. So I hit 5. That's funny, man. That's really funny. There's 2 ways you can get into that. I just figured out. There's 2 ways you can go to the menu to get into that. No, I want maximum control. Yeah, target names, da-da-da-da-da-da. Once again, I'm not changing the sample rate because it's 15. It's 16K. We'll call it 16K. Yeah, 16K. Use, yeah, I'm going to give it a name. And I'm going to add, this is really important. So what it's going to do now, because you're just giving it samples, you're not giving it an operating system. The Emax needs an operating system to do this. And the way you're going to do that is it's going to take an OS file, glue it together to the samples so that you'll be able to boot off this. Now, this is something really important with Emaxes, is that if you load it up on OS 1 and you're playing a file that's in OS 2, you won't be able to edit it. So I find that it's best to marry the operating system into the kernel, into that file. So I'm going to be selecting that, and I'm going to put a link in the description on how to do that and where to get the operating systems from. Okay, so it's now looking in. There's a folder over here in Emacs land called OS. Come on. Why are you being so slow? There it is. It's just fantastic, isn't it? And there's a whole bunch of different OSs you can get. The operating system I suggest you get is SE 1.1. And the thing about SE 1.1 is it's basically fixed up all the bugs, and it's got the synthesis on it. It's the one below plus. Plus one, the plus one operating system. I don't like plus one. There's just a couple of things about it I don't like. Yeah, SE 1.1, that's the one I think you should use. So I'm going to click 3. Oh, fuck off. I'm going to click 3. And it's going to take that operating system, marry it with the samples, and convert it to a new file called Rockpot. Thank you very much. And then we can see all of this fantastic information if we care. Isn't that great? Fantastic. And then over in the folder we see rockpot.hfe. This blows my mind. So I'm then going to take a USB stick. I'm going to copy that onto the USB. This is a PC USB stick. It's not an Emax formatted USB stick. I'm going to stick this into the Emax. The Emax is going to read it, and there it is. And because it's got the operating system, I can boot up off that file. And if I save it, it's going to save it back onto this as a PC format, and I can stick it back in my computer and keep backups of everything, which is something really awesome that you should do. That's it. So that completes part 1. Like I said, part 2 is going to be pulling it into the Emax, setting out everything across the Emax keyboard, playing with the synthesizer, maybe some loop points, I don't know, fun stuff. Then number 3 is going to be about routing stuff out and sending it around the studio through compressors, through distortion pedals. Because the thing to remember about a distortion pedal is it's looking for minus 30 dB, minus 20, minus 30 dB, because anything louder, you're going to distort it and it sounds like crap. So we're going to look at that stuff in the later versions. If you liked what I've done today, please jump on, bookmark Angelspit's Twitch and our YouTube, because every Sunday at 9 a.m. LA time, we do a thing called Art of Rock, where a whole bunch of us get together and we talk about the process of making art. And it could be covering how to get over writer's block, putting a song together, dealing with business, dealing with promotion, collaborating, artwork, all sorts of stuff. You know, if someone just throws in a question, making a video, on we go. It's really great fun. If you dig this stuff, jump on Angelspit's Patreon as well. So much of the content's free, but if you want to help me out, I'm really grateful. Remember to like and subscribe to Angelspit's YouTube. So, excuse me, if I ever go live or do anything crazy, you will get a notification. But that's it. That's part 1. So, like and subscribe, as they say, and then do me a favor and hang around for number 2. You rock, and I'll see you Sunday for Art of Rock, because it's the best fun ever. Thank you so much. You're the best.